After the pageantry of Indy, we head over to one of the most traditional racetracks in the world for the Milwaukee Mile and 140 laps of pure racing as we start the second half of the 2014 16th Street Racing League, and it is here live on iRacing Brazil. Will Vincent along with Aaron Likens once again, and Aaron, this is the oldest operating speedway in the world, which, except for during the US's involvement in World War II, has hosted at least one race every single year since 1903.
Yes, 1903, originally a dirt track, eventually paved, and as you said, this is a historic track. Typically it is the race for many, many years after the Indy 500, so it's only fitting that we're here this weekend. Yeah, you're right when you say it is pure racing. This is one of the most difficult tracks to hit your marks, every single line, and to be fast. If you miss your entry into turn 1 or turn 3, you're talking maybe a quarter, maybe a half-second loss. So these drivers are really going to have to be on their game tonight.
And of course, the way things are going right now, we are into the second half of the season. So drivers are going to have to bear that in mind now, because we are getting to that stage now that we really are going to see who has got what it takes to be the 2013 16th Street Racing League Indy 400. Indy 400, not Indy 400, IndyCar champion. Yeah, I'm still a week ago, but of course, you've got to talk about those big three, the Josh Chins of the world, the Matt Cooks of the world, and the Tim Holgates of the world. And you talk about how difficult this place is. One of those guys can make a name for themselves tonight. One of those guys can put themselves into the back foot.
This could be a real separator. This is a track that right now in warm-up we have Matt Cook on top, Tim Holgate's 5th, and Joshua Chin hasn't turned too many laps, but right now he's sitting 25th. So if that were to finish right like that right now, that would be a big hit to Joshua Chin. Of course, Chin has not run that many laps, but the last mile oval we were at, Phoenix, really Joshua Chin did not have a good showing, being caught up in a wreck. So tonight, lap traffic's going to be a factor, pit strategy is going to be a factor, and really we're not going to know what happens till the very end. This is going to be an intriguing race for sure.
And we are getting ready to have qualifying here at the Milwaukee Mile. This track is exactly 1 mile in length. And the banking, well, you're going to be precise even there. Just over 9 degrees of banking, 9 1/4. And we will see some guys who are very fast in qualifying again, Aaron. The Panther Boys historically have been good in qualifying here. But the Broken Arrow guys, expect to see them up front. Also expect to see, of course, the Banshee Aero X people out front. I think that this qualifying session is going to be important, because you're going to want to be in those top 5 drivers coming to start this race. You do not want to be in that mid-pack.
No, you don't want to be in the mid-pack. That's where you're what I call the crunch zone. You have crashes in the front or crashes come up from behind you and catch you out. But really, this is almost like a road course. Passing here, very difficult. Qualifying, unlike other ovals, Indy last week, we could see passes at any point in time. This track, this race really could be a one in qualifying, and we have less than a 10th separating first through almost 8th in warm-up. So if there was ever a time in the season where there is intensity in qualifying, it is now.
Cars are on the racetrack right now. We'll get you as many of them as they come past the track. The first one to come by will be Matt Cook in the number 66 car. 21.781, provisional pole position for him. Brandon Trainer provisionally in the 2nd position. Ryan Norton in 3rd. A lot of these guys will try and do the 2 laps here. The tyres, they warm up. They go a little bit better on that 2nd lap. We will see as they come past start-finish line if anyone improves. Niles Anders comes past the stripe. He goes to 22.010. Let's see, will Matt Cook improve his time? The answer is no. So for the time being, it is Matt Cook then Brandon Trainer. Trainer is not going to go back out into the racetrack, so it looks as though he will start on the outside of row number 1, unless anything happens in his last moments of qualifying. Ryan Norton currently in 3rd position, and Randy Kozner, he just looks as though he's not going to do another lap. We've got a couple of people still to go out. Brad Sanford, a good of qualifying by him. He ran in the transfer race, and he is running in the 5th position, provisionally in qualifying. 25 people have now done their times, Aaron.
And look at this. Tim Holgate, 11th. Joshua Chin, currently 17th, and I don't think any of those drivers have another lap. So Joshua Chin is going to be starting where he doesn't want to start. He's going to be in the latter half, maybe the latter third of this field. Tim Holgate's going to be starting about mid-pack, and unless somebody comes out of nowhere, Matt Cook's going to have the pole and, more importantly, those extra bonus points for starting there.
Indeed. And we will have a look. Just going to give it a couple of moments to see if anyone else is going to come out onto the racetrack to spoil the party. But for the time being, it does look as though Matt Cook will get pole position here. Now, for Joshua Chin in particular, when you had a look at his practice times, it wasn't that fast for him either. Only able to go 25th in qualifying out of the 30 people that set a timed lap. And he's going to be in a bit of trouble here today. But I'm a little bit surprised, actually, with the Panther boys, because Holgate, 14th, Nefriarg only 12th. Expected a little bit more from them this time.
Yeah, Nefri, though, usually is a mid-packer when it comes to qualifying. I did expect the other team to be up there. Nefri really is about a 10th to 15th place qualifier, and he's one of those drivers that we're going to talk about through the race saying, oh my goodness, he's coming through the field, look at those great passes. So Nefri is certainly a better racer than qualifying, yet at the same time, we got to look at the qualifying times. It is just 2/10. Just over 2/10, 4/1000s to be exact, from 1st to 17th. So that this field is not separated by all that much.
It is not indeed. Pretty much, Ryan Norton is just going out. It looks like he's just doing an installation lap, and that won't really mean much at all. Just checking out to see how his car is going to run at the start. So no one really out on the racetrack at all. And I think overall this is going to be a fascinating race, because 140 laps is going to be tiring for these drivers.
Oh, it is going to be tiring. This and Indy probably... I put this track in terms of degree of difficulty. This track, it's in terms of ovals, it is essentially flat. You have to be perfect. You have to lift off the gas entering the corner, and you got to time it right. If you get on the gas just a little bit too soon, you're going to be drifting out towards the wall, and so often drivers have a habit of staying on the gas, conking the wall. Saw a lot of drivers wrecking off of turn 4. That's where I think we're going to see a lot of issues today. And should we get there, hopefully we get there, getting onto pit road here and getting off, I guess every oval we go to we say it's one of the more difficult, but this one, the entrance is very, very narrow.
It is indeed, and you actually have to pit off turn number 4. And then it really is just about a car length wide, maybe about a car length and a half, to get that car onto pit road. Pit road speed here is 40 miles an hour. Pacing speed is 55 miles an hour. We're going to take a moment now and run through your starting grid for the 2014 16th Street Racing League Milwaukee 140, powered by iRaceForLife.org. Row number 1, Matt Cook scoring pole position in his number 66 Aero X racing car, and he'll be joined by Broken Arrows Brandon Traino in row number 1. Ryan Norton and Randy Quosno line up in row number 2, with Brad Sanford and Brendan Lichtenberg in row 3. Matt Kingsbury and Joe Branch will start in row number 4 on the inside and outside respectively, and then Paul Jenkins, Dave Judson in row number 5. Eric Davis, Nefriarg in row 6, Marco Beatonham, Tim Holgate in row number 7. Row number 8 is Vic Cordials, Courtney Terrell. Row number 9, Connor Cross and Niles Anders. Row 10, Tim Miller, Ryan Murray. Row 11, Kerry Bettenhausen and Joshua Chin. Row 12, David Stockrider, Mark Schaefer. Row 13, Chuck Eisenberg and Brian Simpson. Then the rest of you qualifiers, Kevin Crest, Douglas E. Smith, Dave Jinks, Niall McBride, and Terry Mattinson. Who's going to win it, Aaron?
Who's going to win it right now? I don't think you can bet against Matt Cook. At the same time, our winner last week, Brandon Traino, making another start this season, so he's got the momentum, but Matt Cook, he really could put a hammer down on this championship with the race win today. And in warm-up, he was consistently the fastest, so I think if you're going to want to beat Matt Cook, doing it on the track might not be the way to do it. You might have to beat him with strategy, so I'm going to go Matt Cook.
And don't forget that Matt Cook needs to think of the championship. Come the last 10 laps, if he's in a position where he is, and, you know, Tim Holgate and Josh Chin are running outside the top 10, and there's someone who wants to just win this race, Matt Cook might be better off just letting them take the victory.
Oh, definitely. This track, so often you can have a car really, don't like the term it's used a lot, dive bomb you into the corner, and really you have two options: fight it and wreck, or back off and let them go. And with the championship, Tim Holgate starting 14th, Chin 22nd. Wow, it's going to be a difficult race for them, and who knows, maybe they have a better race setup. Joshua Chin in qualifying got on the curb, got the car really, really loose, so maybe his car's a lot better than his time shows, but starting 22nd, he's going to have to use some strategy to work his way up.
These cars are going to be all over the place for the first couple of laps until those tyres warm up. The pace car is working itself through turn number 3 and 4. Don't forget, the oval portion of the 16th Street Racing League is brought to you by iRaceForLife.org. Head over to iRaceForLife.org to see how you can race and give every time you win. Pace car about to make that journey down to pit road for the first time here today. And here we go! The 16th Street Racing League Milwaukee 140 is underway as they all come down into turn number 1. Single file for the most part. Couple of people wiggling all over the place. I tell you what, Ryan Norton down to the inside there of Brandon Trano to take second place away. Almost 3 wides. They come down in turn 3, and Brandon Trano cuts off Randy Kozler a bit there.
Oh, some really hard fighting to begin this race as the car gets loose off of turn 4. I think that's Kingsbury. His car really, really loose, running at about 7th place. I really can't believe everybody got through that lap.
I tell you what, Kingsbury almost lost that car again through turn number 1 2, well down below that yellow line, almost 3 wide as they come down into turn number 3 and 4. Once again, Kingsbury battling there with Brandon Lichtenberg, and these cars, as I said, they are going to be loose for those first 2 to 3 laps. Now they are past that danger zone for the most part, so these cars, you'll see, they'll stop sliding so much in corner entry, and amazingly, everyone's been able to get through those first couple of laps without incident. I tell you what, there are a couple of movers in this field. Tim Holgate is up a couple of positions. Joshua Chin, he has not, however, gone anywhere at all. And out front, Matt Cook with a 1.1 second advantage over Brandon Trano, who's been able to get back ahead of his teammate Ryan Norton.
And that battle between Trano and Norton and Krasno really slowed the trio of them up, which allowed Matt Cook to break away. And, well, you're right. To get through cleanly the first 3 laps we saw at Phoenix, we just could not get the race started. So really good that we have been able to get this far in. And, well, we do have one car out showing out of the race. Nels Sanders, something happened to him, unfortunately.
Turn 3 and 4 on lap number 1, and he was actually trying to work on the inside of Courtney Tell. Courtney Tell got incredibly loose there, and Niles Anders, it looks as though that something broke on his car, and he just parked that car, and it's game over. I didn't actually see any damage, though, to his car. However, he is out of the race. Out front, Matt Cook leads, Brandon Trano second, Ryan Norton third, Randy Cosmo fourth, Brad Sanford. That rounds out your top 5. So they are running in the top 5 as they started. Big loser in the top 10 is Dave Judson. He qualified. He's a big gainer. He qualified in the 10th position. He is now running in the 6th spot. And Dave Judson, working himself into a couple of races this season, looking as though he's having a much better showing than he had at Homestead.
Yeah, much better showing. Homestead got loose off the turn 2, but right now, big mover. And the driver behind him, I mentioned him pre-race, Nefri Og. He has moved from the 12th spot up to 5th, and he has just been making passes look easy. So I think these 2 drivers, as the race goes on, Nefri and Judson, that's going to be a good battle to watch as they come through.
Gap is closing, however, between Trano and Matt Cook. Last time by 22.133 for Matt Cook. A 22.130 for Brandon Trano, so it only came down by 3/1000ths of a second that last time by. However, of course, a lot of racing left to go in this race. Only working ourselves at the conclusion of lap 9 of 140. Now, if this race doesn't have too many cautions, this will be a very quick race. However, as we had at Phoenix, it's a momentum track. If you get yourself into caution after caution, these drivers are going to struggle. Get longer green flag runs, I think we're going to have ourselves a good day. I am looking though at Tim Holgate. He's broken into the top 10 right now, and you have him running line astern with a couple of his friends, Nestor Yard and Joe Branch, who's 7th and 8th ahead of him.
As he goes to the inside, so move him up to 8th as he passes Joe Branch, and I don't think he'll take too much time to work around Nefri Ogg. So Tim Holgate, the worries we had about the points, he's gonna make things interesting in the least. He is not gonna go down, and he not gonna be able to get a run on Nefri this time, but I expect him to get around him momentarily.
And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't say the team orders per se coming into play here, but I'm sure Nefri is going to be thinking big picture there for Tim, knowing the fact Tim needs to get himself into that top 5. You see, very courteous, just moving out the way there and allowing Tim Holgate to go on his way. We have to keep an eye on our 3, as I say, for the championship, and as far as Joshua Chin goes, he's still only running in the 18th position right now. He hasn't lost touch with that mid-pack, however. For the most part, they are single file, so that might make things easier if you can pick them off one at a time.
Yeah, one at a time. Chin's car just looks just a little unsettled as we have our first yellow.
First caution of the day here at the Milwaukee Mile, and I see Brian Simpson there in the number 7 car, and I'm thinking he might have just got loose there in turn number 3 and 4. Comes down to the white line, touches that yellow curb, and smashes into the safer barrier, and he clips, I believe that was Niall McBride as well. Yeah, and Niall McBride is an innocent bystander to that one, and he is also going to be out of the race for a little bit. Some pretty bad damage to the right-hand side of that number 41 car.
This is a very difficult track, as we'll see on the replay. For Niall McBride, it is very hard to adjust your line mid-corner. If you get off the gas, you can lose the rear. If you hit the brakes, you can lock up where the car's going to shoot to the outside. So for Niall McBride, there really wasn't anything he could do to avoid this wreck.
Yep, and Brian Simpson will be our second listed retiree of the day, of course. Niall Anders out at the conclusion of lap number 1. Matt Cook on pit road.
Everybody looks like they're coming on.
Now this is interesting. Will anyone try to stay out? And I don't think anyone is in the top 15, 16 cars. No one is being brave. If I was actually just Chin, I would have stayed out if I was Chin, but everyone is on pit road. And let's see who's going to win the race off. It's going to be very close out front, but Matt Cook gets it. I tell you what, Dave Johnson up into 3rd.
Wow, and he was on the move before the race. I think the big loser there could be Brandon Trano. As they come out, we'll see if he gets to go around anybody, but Ryan Murray got out in front of him, so Ryan Murray also had a good pit. This is going to be really, really good. How strong is Judson's car? Ryan Norton's going to be restarting 2nd. Yeah, this is going to... We'll see how strong of a car Judson has now.
Indeed, this will be very interesting. I think for Ryan Murray, I'm not sure if he took tyres or not. And this will be interesting because this track can historically be very tough on tyres. Not necessarily tyre wear, but tyre temperature, Aaron. And it's a little bit difficult to explain because, of course, they run a very hard compound on these iRacing Firestone tyres. So it's tyre temperature, and as it builds up, you literally, like the Pirellis in Formula 1, you hit a cliff and you're running out of grip very quickly.
Yeah, really, really difficult to... Well, for him to make that gamble and not take tires, I think only 15 laps in, that might be a good gamble to make. I'd say right now, let's see, where did Joshua Chin make any gambles? No, he's still running 20th. I'm surprised nobody did stay out there. We only had 15 laps, so I am amazed nobody did take that gamble.
Very quickly, going to tell you a little bit about the rules of racing. Because this is defined by the 16 Sheet Racing League as a short track, we are going to have ourselves double file restarts. It is only the long tracks, places like Indy, Auto Club, Pocono later on in the season, where we'll be running single file restarts. So it's back to the double file restarts here. Pace speed is 55 miles an hour, pit road speed is 40 miles an hour, and the lights are off on the pace cars. So we're going to go back to green flag racing with 18 laps scored complete.
Nice.
Your top 10: Matt Cook, Ryan Norton, Dave Judson, Ryan Murray, Brandon Trano, Tim Holgate, Randy Cosnay, Brad Sanford, Nefriag, and Joe Branch. And Holgate back into the picture. Josh Chin still struggling at the rear end of the top 20.
Yep, rear end for Josh Chin. Just, oh, well, unfortunate run so far, but he's still in the race. If there's anybody that can make moves to come through the field, it is Joshua Chin. Holgate's moving up 6th place, so the damage as of right now not going to be as severe, but don't count him out towards the end. We'll have to see on this restart. Can Brandon Train will get back up there? He was the fastest car on the track before the yellow. And Dave Judson, how strong is he? We are about to find out.
Pace car is going to make its journey back onto pit road, and we're going to go back to green flag racing here at the Milwaukee Mile. Ryan Norton gets a little bit of a wiggle there, and that might mean that Dave Judson might look down to his inside into turn of 1. The answer's going to be yes, they are. Cold tires. Who's going to make it happen? Judson moves himself up into 2nd position. Now, there's a lot of history between Judson and Norton. It's causing this back out.
As we got a car on its split on the back straightaway, that would be
Brad Sanford.
Yes, Brand Sanford, and this is what we saw at Phoenix. Yellows, these tires get so loose, and wow, looks like Sanford just got a little bit loose, and there was nothing, I think, nothing really Nefri could do there.
I think actually he didn't realize that Nefriag was down on that inside lane. Because it does look as though he literally was on that in between the 1st and 2nd lane. Nefri had nowhere to go there. And, of course, at the start of this race, these cars get loose slide all over the place. You just kind of had to put the car wherever it would go. But I don't think Nefriag got any damage out of that. Brad Sanford, however, is out of the race. Now, here'll be the interesting thing. Double fire restarts. Historically, the guy in the 2nd position struggles a little bit. And we saw that there with Ryan Norton. He couldn't anticipate where Matt Cook was going to be on the restart. Now Dave Judson is going to be on that outside line. Ryan Norton might be able to get that position back.
Oh, yeah, almost role reversal. I much rather would restart 3rd than 2nd at a track like this. When you're 3rd, you just get right behind the wing, and for 2nd, you really have to be looking left. You just have to keep looking left, and if you just time it wrong, if you're not looking over there and the leader takes off just 1/10 of a second sooner than what you're expecting, 3rd place is going to be able to see that before, and as long as 3rd place has just a wing on your rear tire, it is really their corner. There's nothing you can do.
And one of the things that we need to talk about as well, and we saw that very clearly on the number 84 car of Ryan Norton, as you come through the gears, especially from 1st gear into 2nd, these cars can get incredibly loose. And we've seen it before in 16th Street competition, cars almost spinning out, veering to the left, veering to the right, and it's that power band. When you're hitting from about 9,500 RPM up to 10,300 where you shift, that is when these cars, with the wheel spin, the power that these normally aspirated engines just put down, a lot of power on cold tires. We've seen it before. A lot of guys are struggling to get that power down, and I know some people do try and take it a little bit safe and just restart in 2nd if they've got that momentum.
And what that can do by cars starting in 2nd gear, the cars behind them are going to be in 1st gear potentially, and when they hit the gas, they're going to speed up, then have to slow down, and then get back on the gas. And these cars really don't like in that power band to go on, off, on, off. That really can start the really wiggling effect, and cars behind are reacting, and either somebody's going to spin it or you're going to have the accordion effect and going to have a car plow into the car in front, not realizing that there is a slowdown going on. So you said we have seen it. I'm afraid I think we will see it again at some point in time in this race.
Of course, the Milwaukee Mile has hosted IndyCar racing pretty much since IndyCar racing ever existed, with the exception, of course, of just that 1 year when Milwaukee didn't host any top-name tracks. However, it is great to see the Milwaukee Indy Fest on Father's Day weekend back into competition. And Aaron, throughout the years, this track has always produced great racing as we're going to go back to green this time by.
Oh, it's produced many fantastic racing. Early 90s, some of the battles they had there, and even today, this track really just, some tracks are just flat out, this track is a true driver's track. If you've won at the Milwaukee Mile, this, in terms of smaller tracks, this really, with the history, no track is like winning at Indy. But this track, if you win here, you have beaten the best. You have driven against the best. And winning here, definitely big on the resume.
So, pace car once again working itself through turn number 3 and 4. Going to go back to green flag racing at the conclusion of our second caution of the day here at the historic Milwaukee Mile. Let's see whether Cook can keep this advantage. Let's see whether Dave Judson can hold it on that outside line for the restart. Here we go, back to green flag racing. A wiggle again from Norton, but Dave Judson was able to fall back into line. Norton's going to try it around the outside there through turn number 1 and 2. He's getting very loose there. Trainer behind him as well. Here comes Norton on the outside there of Dave Judson. Is going to work himself down into turn number 3 and 4. Norton wants that position, and it looks as though he won't be able to get it just yet. The outside line can be very treacherous on these restarts. Wasn't able to happen there for the 84 car. And then also something to point out as well, that Tim Holgate now up into the top 5.
So you have to wonder if they were focusing on race setup or if maybe he just had a poor qualifying outing. Running top 5, and he isn't falling back. He's going to be on the move. So well, at the beginning we thought this could be a hammer down event for Matt Cook. Now Tim Holgate is in the picture.
I tell you what, Joshua Chin needs to look out, because they just tried going 3 wide ahead of him down into turn number 1. And Josh Chin's going to take advantage of that. He's going to get himself past Brendan Lichtenberg. He's having a horrible race right now. Marco Viitanen ahead. He's just carving a hole. And it looks like that Chin is just going to go past Mark Schaefer and almost made it 3 wide again. Will he get himself past Viitanen down into turn number 1? The answer is going to be yes. Chin, all of a sudden, is flying. And he's now up into the 14th position. And that was, I think, 4 cars in 3 laps there for the number 93 car.
Gotta wonder if he made an adjustment if on that first pit stop, because the car was not handling at the start, and all of a sudden Joshua Chin is on the move, and he truly made those passes look effortless. And now he's going to be coming up to Matt Kingsbury. Will he be able to dispose of him relatively quickly? Right now the closing rate is fast, so I think Chin's going to be in the 13th position sooner rather than later, maybe on the straightaway.
Away from our screen, Ryan Norton was able to get past Dave Johnson, also Brandon Treno as well, able to get past the number 83 Impact Racing car of Dave Johnson. So right now it is Cook from Norton, from Treno from Johnson, from Holgate as they complete lap number 29 in this race. Give you an update on retirees. It is Brian Simpson out of the race. Niles Landers is back circulating, but he scored 13 laps down. Now McBride is out, and Brad Sanford is out of the race. Everyone else is still scored on the lead lap. 27 cars overall are scored on that lead lap. And I tell you what, like it was on that first stint, it does look as though the Broken Arrow cars have good speed, at least at the start of the run.
That's what we saw on the initial start. Matt Cook built up a 1-second lead, and Brandon Treno was then able to reel him in. Right now, Matt Cook is looking at just under a 7/10 of a second lead, as we do have Norton and Treno running second and third. Last time, it took about 10 laps, but then it seemed Matt Cook's car really started to fall off a little bit, and right now we're seeing that right now with Matt Cook running a 22.11. Norton last time a 22.04, so about 7/100ths of a second, and it won't be long before Norton is knocking for the lead.
And also, when you think about it, the draft at this track isn't as beneficial as you'd have at an Indy, at a Texas, or an Auto Club, for example. It really, in some cases, can actually be a huge disadvantage because of the way the air falls over the car. You run a lot higher wings compared to what you'd run at a lot of these super speedways. And we're going to check in on Tim Holgate, because he, I believe, has just got himself past Dave Judson. And also, Randy Crosno is going to go past Dave Johnson as well. Now, let's not forget, back at Homestead, those two had it coming together, and Dave Johnson thought about looking back down to the inside of Crosno, and then thought better of it. But, as I was saying, the dirty air here, the drafting here, is not as advantageous as you have at some tracks, Aaron.
Yeah, we saw it last week at Indy. The draft, you could just pass anybody where you want, as lap traffic now comes into effect, as Kevin Kress is going a lap down and doing a good job staying out of the way of the leaders. But the dirty air also, that's one aspect that fresh tires could work. Yeah, they run a hard compound, but if you run behind somebody for a long time, you may have to put in just that extra degree of wheel and that really could increase those temperatures. So yeah, staying in the draft for too long can abuse that right front just a little bit.
Okay, let's have a look, guys. Dave Judson under attack again by the look of it, and that is from Nefriaga. Is going to look down to his inside. However, the intriguing story is in that battle for the race lead, because now Norton has dropped off into the 22.1s. His last lap, a 22.134. Matt Cook's last lap, a 22.104. So perhaps now, and of course, we've only had one other stint to judge ourselves by, and that was those first 15 laps of the race. This is already our second longest run of the race so far. It does look as though that all of a sudden they are kind of trading lap times, and now longer is Norton able to just eke out that advantage that he was able to do earlier on. So I think we've got a good race on our hand now between AeroX Racing and Broken Arrow.
Yeah, and it's going to be not... You may trade laps. One lap somebody may be a couple hundreds faster. Next lap you can go back the other way. But if you do that too long, you really are... the tires, you really got to make your moves early here, I think. And that time, Ryan Norton almost a tenth faster. So for the last 2 laps, Norton has closed in. And Treno behind him. Treno seems content right now to not really pressure Norton. He's just staying in line, hoping that the two of them can reel in the leader. And then behind him, Holgate now. Holgate 1.7 seconds behind. So right now, essentially a 3-car breakaway.
I was going to talk about someone who's having a much worse day than when he qualified from. Brandon Lichtenberg qualified for this race in the 6th position. He's scored right now in the 18th spot on the racetrack. And really, he's not had anything in this race at all. And it's a bit of a shame, because I know that Brandon does actually kind of like this racetrack. Just doesn't seem he's got that car dialed in right now.
Have to wonder, as we said, some drivers really focus on qualifying laps. And when you get out there on the start, maybe he spun his tires at some point in time, got freight trained, or maybe the car setup just doesn't like that many cars around him. Maybe it got unsettled a little bit loose, and you, of all the tracks, you don't want to be loose to the point of where it's uncontrollable. This is it, especially on restarts and ill-handling cars here. It is going to show in a hurry.
Lap number 42 of 140 here at the Milwaukee Mile. And I tell you what, Brandon Treno has been able to get himself back past Ryan Norton again there. And that was just outside of our screens, and it looked as though it happened. Norton, I think, just ran a little bit high and allowed Treno to go past him. That was on to lap number 42. So now Treno is leading the charge once again. And Ryan Norton in that 3rd position. We have got a 3-car breakaway, however. Tim Holgate was able to get past Randy Krosnow, but is in no man's land right now. And he's lapping about the same paces as your race leader. However, is, for the time being at least, about 1.9 seconds behind Matt Cook.
And really, he may be that far behind, but compared to where he started in the 14th position, he's got himself in a position. If he can catch a yellow, he will probably be in that top 4 battle. So really a great run so far for Tim Holgate to get up to this position.
So that is the battle right now for your top 3 positions, and that gap has come down. Trainer last time by was again about half a tenth faster than Matt Cook, and that last lap is a full tenth of a second faster. The gap right now is below a quarter of a second on the racetrack. There is lap traffic ahead. That is Kevin Kress, who's going to go down another lap. Kress is having a horrible day right now in that number 45 car. He qualified for this race. I believe he's actually coming onto pit road. Qualified in 27th. He's pulled that car onto pit road, and I don't think he wanted to get in the way of the leaders at all there. And I think he might park that car right now after he's put 47 laps in the books. Now, that battle between Treno and Cook. Does Treno try and make that pass early? Does he want to assert dominance on this racetrack? Or do you think he's just going to sit behind Cook for the time being and figure out what he's got?
If last week is any indication, I think he's going to sit there. We saw him essentially just be 5th or 6th place for 135 laps last week at Indy, and it wasn't until the final run that we saw him make moves. So right now, I think he's going to be content staying in 2nd, but as I say that, he almost got a run off of turn 4. I think he's really going to have to wait who's coming up. Right now, if it's just the 3 of them, there's really not any gain as of right now to make it. Maybe, as I always say, save a little bit of fuel right now. That might, as he looks to the inside, and he might be going for it. Yes, he does.
And this will be a battle for the race lead. We're going to have ourselves a new race leader, and it will be the number 9 car of Brandon Traino going to the point. Now, we need to also see how Matt Cook's car is going to work in traffic, because for the entirety of this race, Matt Cook has been your race leader. So this will be interesting right now to see whether or not Cook can close right back up to the rear of Traino. Will he be able to try and make a pass back to get himself to the race lead? This, in fact, is almost as important for Matt Cook in that whole idea of thinking about lap 125 onwards as actually leading the race would be.
Yes, and another factor is championship points, leading the most laps. Matt Cook has 49, just 22 laps away from putting a lock on leading the most laps, but right now, Brandon Traino is going to be logging laps up front, so those championship points might be going away should Traino be able to now lead this race through.
Indeed, and this is now our longest green flag run. We went back to green flag racing at the conclusion of lap number 23, so it's almost been a 30-lap green flag run. Now, these cars can do about 70 laps on one tank of fuel, if not a little bit more. However, these guys will probably want to pit for tyres before they really pit for fuel. Fuel tanks, of course, limited here to 13.4 gallons, so take about the 70 lap thing. It's more in the region of about 50 laps for one tank of fuel here. However, in the mid-pack, he's having some very good close racing, and for the most part, everyone is single file, but Josh Chin has been able to get himself up into the 11th place right now, and he is lapping faster than Vic Cordial, who's running in the 10th position, as Douglas E. Smith is about to bring his car on pit road.
Chin's going to have to, as he clips the curb in, great save. I thought that car was going to shoot to the outside wall out of turn 2 there, but Chin's just going to have to log laps, and I'm sure he is frustrated behind the wheel this season, not used to running mid-pack or further behind. We've seen him dominate the road courses, so this is going to be a real test. He's going to have to stay patient, and as you get to these drivers, be methodical about it. Don't risk a contact, don't risk losing your wing. It's going to be difficult. We're 15 laps away from halfway. I'm sure 11th position is not where, when this day started, he thought he would be at this point in time. But he has moved forward, and if luck and yellows work his way, he's going to be a little bit higher.
And just to let you know, Matt Cook clipped exactly that same curve that Josh Chin did, and he lost himself about a tenth of a second to Brandon Traino in that maneuver. So Matt Cook really is driving that car hard right now. I have to say, the guy in the best position could be Ryan Norton, because he did allow Traino to go and lead that race out front. If you can do an extra lap, 2 laps of fuel on this racetrack, and you get everything going your way, I think Norton could be the difference maker here. Like, they really have dropped off now. Tim Holgate, 3 seconds is the gap, and they are consistently lapping about half a tenth of a lap faster than Holgate in that 6th car. Now, that's going to be slightly annoying for Holgate, is that he can see them ahead of him as they come down to turn 3 and 4. He just can't close up for some reason right now.
And as a driver, that's one of the most aggravating things in the world. You're doing everything right, and you see the leaders either staying right where they are or just inching ever so slightly in front of you. And lap after lap, you want to drive that car a little bit harder, and you have to restrain yourself, because you may overdrive the car. You may stay on the gas or get on the gas a little bit too soon and push out and hit the wall. That's one of the really... driving by yourself sometimes is a lot more difficult than being in a pack, because you're going to start thinking, what can I do to get faster? I need to push the envelope. I need to go faster, harder. Maybe move the weight trackers, try something different, and that's where you can get into trouble.
Indeed. To give you an update as well, we'll run through your top 10 as things have settled down. Of course, Brandon Traino is now your 2nd race leader. We've talked about Cook, we've talked about Norton and Holgate. In that 5th position is Randy Cosno. Now, a bit of a nonchalant day right now for that number 10 car. Who hasn't really done anything in this race. He qualified 4th. He's running 1 place lower than where he started. Just keeping an eye out on Brandon Traino. Let's see, I think he is just working himself through some lap traffic right now. But for Randy Cosno, just logging points for him. He's had some bad luck this season. Running in the top 5 again, showing some good speed in the sister Aero X car.
Krosno has had strong cars almost everywhere we go. And he would definitely be, if we had a candidate for the worst luck of the season, he would definitely be out high up on that list. At Homestead, Dave Judson spun across his nose. At Phoenix, there was a wreck in front of him. Nothing he could do.
Holgate from pit road.
So early pit for Holgate, I think.
Yeah, Mark Schaefer on pit road as well. So, of course, we talked about this here. Pit road is so difficult to get into. 45 miles an hour, and the cones are really weirdly placed as well. As Nefriar to say, he is on pit road, and Ryan Norton is in as well. So from third position, he actually comes in a lap earlier than Trainer and Cook ahead of him. Pace road, pit road speed here again, 45 miles an hour. And when you come out of pit road, you've got to be careful that you stay inside that yellow line all the way around us. Here comes your race leader, Brandon Trainer, and Matt Cook's coming in right behind him, and they almost make contact there. I see a car pointing in the wrong direction on pit road. That was Terry Mattinson. However, this is going to be an interesting battle now. Who can get on and off the jack splits?
I think Cook might be in line for a penalty. He came in at about 58. I don't know if he slowed it down. It's going to be interesting. We'll have to see if his car goes or if he sets.
Oh, he sat.
He's good. He's good. So, wow, pushing the definitely on the edge there for Matt Cook. He came in really hot, and that would have been a championship. Oh, he gets into the grass on pit exit. That's Matt Cook. So, if there is any thought of him just points racing, he is on it, Will.
He really is indeed. Everyone on pit road. Niles Anders, Courtney Tell, Brendan Lichtenberg, Matt Kingsbury on pit road as we speak. Will get yourselves a confirmation of the race order as they come past start finish line next time. But we've got a great battle going on right now. Joe Branch, Ryan Murray, Kevin Crest, Josh Chin. These are all people who's trying to make stuff happen on the pit stops. Actually, Josh Chin's lost out a little bit on pit stops. So he's back down into the 15th position by the look of things. As they all circulate themselves around the racetrack.
We did have 5 drivers pit on that. When we had that quick yellow, we did have 5 cars come into pit on that caution. So I think we will have some drivers cycling through, as Dave Jinks is currently being shown our leader.
Yeah, but he is now on pit road. So it is back to Brandon Traino from Matt Cook, and then Ryan Norton in the 3rd place. However, Norton, as the caution came out, was 1.2 seconds back. Our 3rd yellow of the day, and I believe it is Randy Crosno who was involved there. We'll get ourselves confirmation of that in just one moment, but bad luck if it is indeed that Aero X racing car.
Looks like he spun out of the pits. So Crosno issues in the pits.
Yeah, Brandon Lichtenberg had the issue. His car just smashed into the wall there. I'm not quite sure what happened actually. It did look as though that he caught the curb, and then that car just drove straight up into the outside safety barrier.
And that curb is a tricky curb. If you can hit it right, it's not going to upset the car at all. If you hit it wrong, it's sort of gonna high side your car, and there's really nothing you can do about it. So unfortunate there, and also unfortunate for Randy Crosno. He got on the gas a little bit too hard out of the pit, so his bad luck season continues.
Indeed. So let's see. No one's going to come into pit road from your top 3, 4, 5 drivers. A couple of people are thinking about it. Ryan Murray comes in. So it looks like he will be the only guy to come in, and he will top off on Sunoco race gas. But crazy pit sequence there. And I was talking about Josh Chin being down. He's actually now up into P8. And this field's all reset. So interesting there. So Traino from Cook, from Norton, from Holgate, from Nefri, all of a sudden you've got your 3 championship contenders back in the top 10.
It's amazing how that always works. Regardless of where they qualify, good drivers are going to find a way to the front, and Chin has done that. I really wasn't expecting that. I was expecting maybe some bad luck to play in, but after that first pit stop, Chin's car has just been amazing. He's made passes look easy. Other drivers have had to really work for passes. When he gets up to a driver, he just says see ya and moves on to the next car. Expect him to perhaps crack the top 5 on this restart with within 10 laps. He's been on the move.
And we are now into the second half of the 16 Street Racing League Milwaukee at 140, powered by iRaceForLife.org. Don't forget, with the partnership with the 16 Street Racing League, iRaceForLife.org, giving $5 to the winner's charity of choice, all part of iRaceForLife.org's mantra: You race, you win, you give. Brandon Traino leads right now after 33 minutes worth of racing. Matt Cook second, Ryan Norton third, Tim Holgate fourth, and Nefri Arg in the fifth position. Dave Judson sixth, Joe Branch in seventh, Josh Chin in eighth, Paul Jenkins in ninth, and then Mark Schaefer rounds out your top 10. Retirees: Brian Simpson, Niall McBride, Brad Sanford, Niles Anders, Randy Crosno, Brandon Lichtenberg, Brandon Lichtenberg is the last of the retirees, and of course Randy Crosno, he had that incident on pit road which put him out of the race. So we are going to go back to green flag racing with 72 laps scored complete, and I think this is now going to be a chance for the Broken Arrow cars to really pull away. Matt Cook is going to have to be very careful on that outside line not to get freight trained, and of course you've got Tim Holgate on that outside line as well.
And another thing I've seen, Matt Cook's car, I think on a short run, is the strongest car out there, and that would make sense setup-wise. Drivers are probably expecting a lot of yellows, a lot of cold tire runs. So on this restart, I'm expecting Matt Cook to actually mount a charge and maybe, if he can get a good restart, take the lead within the first 4 laps of green. His car's been really strong in those first 5 laps. He's got to get the restart though, and with Norton third, Norton's can be really, really good on the restart, and if that's the case, being freight trained here can be very painful. It can be very hard to get to the bottom, so Matt Cook, this is a really perilous moment for him.
It is indeed, and with pace car about to head itself back down onto pit road, and let's see, can Cook keep that second position? Can Norton get himself back up into P2? We're going to find out any moment now. We're back to green flag racing here at the Milwaukee Mile, and it was a good restart there. Norton will go down to that inside line. He will take second position away. Cook almost spinning it, and there goes Holgate down to the inside as well. Holgate's on fire, and Cook is your big loser as Norton down to the race lead.
What a restart by Ryan Norton to take the lead, and here comes Holgate going to be on the inside of Traino, and will Matt Cook then be able to follow through? A complete change of what we saw at the start of the race.
It is indeed, and here comes Holgate. He's going to get the job done, and Traino also, he's left out to dry, so indeed Matt Cook is able to get himself up into the third position. Traino shuffling back from first down into fourth position, and Nefri Arg, look at him, he's right there in the picture as well. The Panther boys have come alive on this restart. It is Norton from Holgate, from Cook, from Traino, from Nefri Arg, as there's almost contact there down in turn number 1.
That's one of the tricky spots when you get that run, when you're that car behind. If that car in front slows down, it is really hard to get off the gas, because when you do, your car is going to become unsettled. So you just have to hope that that car in front of you goes before you get to him. And thankfully for Traino and Nefri, that happened right there.
So here we go. With 75 laps in the books,
and here
it is all going to come down to Chin here, because he is in that picture, and he's pounding on the rear of Nefri Arg right now. He has got to be careful. He's got to get that job done quickly, because if he falls back a little bit too much, here comes Traino down to the inside of Matt Cook, and he will take that third place away from Cook. Cook, he's always talked about those first 10 laps, he just didn't have the speed, and Traino was able to take advantage of that.
Yes, he has, and Traino's car, as strong as Cook's car has been on the first 10 laps, Traino's car has equally been unstable. This is now where Traino's car really seems to get dialed in, and I think he may be able to make short work of Holgate here. Might be a lap or two, and when that does happen, will Matt Cook be able to follow through?
Well, yes, and this is that critical part of the race now, because the championship, that big picture I talked about at the start of this broadcast, Aaron, it was for Matt Cook, you know, qualifying pole position, lead as many laps as possible, get all the bonus points, take that car to victory lane. All of a sudden, his championship rival, Tim Holgate, is 2 places ahead of him.
And this is why you race. At the start of the race, if Matt Cook thought at some point in time Holgate and Chin would be right with him, if I was Matt Cook at the start of this race, I would have had a grin saying this is going to be a great day. As, Traino looking to the inside, very close on Holgate.
And that bunches it up a little bit, so that gives Traino the opportunity as here he comes down to the inside of Tim Holgate. Will, once again, Matt Cook be able to put his car to the inside as well? It does seem to be, if you get put on the outside line, you are sitting duck, and here comes Matt Cook. Will he be close enough? The answer is going to be yes, he is. Cook will go into third position, and Traino will go up into P number 2. And it changes Just like that.
And that was big picture racing there. I think Holgate could have forced the issue. He could have come across Cook's nose, but he didn't take that risk. He could have. Maybe the last lap he would have put his car there, but that was big picture racing. I think Holgate knows his car is strong enough to get back around Cook, and he's going to wait another time to really mount a charge. Indeed,
and Josh Chin, he is still in that P6 position as well. But whilst these three guys have been battling, Ryan Norton's been able to eke out an 8/10 of a second advantage in that number 84 car. He's loving what's going on right now. He's just being able to drive up into the sunset.
He's thinking, come on, boys, just keep battling, keep fighting. How about we see, how about a record amount of changes for second place? Come on, guys, keep doing it. And unfortunately for Norton, here comes Brandon Trano. This is where his car has really been strong, and we'll get a reading on who is faster. I mean, just visually, it looks like Trano is faster, and in DT is only 200s this time, but 22.027 for Trano. So Trano is on the move and pulling away from Cook.
He is indeed, and here they come down into 3 and 4 once again. And it's one of those things that this race will have its ebbs and its flows. And we did see that over full race distance, Cook was very fast actually coming in and off of pit road, and he was about the same speed on those last 5 laps. The first 20 laps of the run, however, it is all about those 2 Broken Arrow cars.
Absolutely, and if we get another restart, boy, it's going to be interesting because Joshua Chin's car has been really good on those short runs. And if he's sitting 6th, he very well could crack into the top 3. So, yeah, wow. And if I'm in the front too, though, if I'm Norton or Trano, I'm thinking, come on, race, green the rest of the way. We've got this. Just hit our marks. Let's just inch away. But this is Milwaukee, and while we got drivers fighting, Holgate now, I think, is within striking distance. When if he wants to make the move, if Matt Cook slips just a little bit, Holgate will be back around.
And I tell you what as well, this, I mean, you're not having as much passing as we had at Indy 1 week ago, but this is pure traditional Milwaukee racing because, yes, of course, you've got to put that car on the right line every single lap. The physical challenge for these drivers, the mental challenge for these drivers, adding to the fact that it really is a revolving game of chess at 170 miles an hour.
That's a very good way to phrase it. And car speed here, they're doing 175 into the corner on just a mile oval. So even though we're not seeing the speeds of 235 to almost 240 that we did last week, here the corners are coming up much faster. It's almost half the lap time. So and I want to go back to when I said it can be really dangerous when you don't have anybody around you. That's when you're going to miss your mark. You lose that adrenaline, you lose that focus, and this track is all about focus. And I like you're also saying this is pure racing. We don't have the draft that we did at Indy that you could pass at any point in time. Here, you have to work a guy. You have to be perfect to make that pass, and one little slip, as we saw earlier, you can lose 2, 3, maybe even more positions.
Yep. And I tell you what, the 2 Broken Arrow guys are pulling away. That gap now between Trano and Cook is 9/10 of a second on the racetrack. Still a lot of racing to go. We've got 50 laps of this race to go, so everyone still has to pit at least 1 more time. In fact, they probably have to pit 2 more times. The way the fuel mileage number is working in this race. But you've got to pay attention up and down the field about these stories. And I have to say, Josh James' car has been running very close to the wall out of turn number 2. He's been pushing up quite a lot. He's really been hounding that race car. We still have a total of 20 cars on the lead lap as well, which, after 92 laps worth of racing at Milwaukee, is fascinating to see.
Fascinating and awesome. Joe Branch and Dave Dretchen just had a great battle, with Joe Branch moving up into the P7 spot. But typically this track is full of attrition, and still, as you mentioned, 20 cars on the lead lap, with our last car on the lead lap, being Courtney Terrell, which was expecting just a little bit more out of Courtney today. He's been a driver that all season has been on the ovals in mid-pack, and in the last third of the race just comes out of nowhere and comes up front. Don't know if that's going to happen here today, but 20 cars on the lead lap, as let's see. And if you're up front, Will, Trano, is he going to be content to just stay there?
I don't know. He might want to try and make it back-to-back victories. Very few drivers have ever got back-to-back victories in the 16th Street Racing League. Of course, you think about Young O when you come to that. I believe Matt Cook, I mean, he got, what, 2 victories in the space of 3 weeks. I don't think he got them back-to-back, but to get 2 victories in a row in this series will be an accomplishment in itself there for that number 9 car, so he might try and do it. And it does look as though he's been content for the time being. It might come down to pit stops though, because that first pit stop, Norton was by far the slowest of those top 3 cars.
And really, if I'm Brandon Trano, as long as 3rd place isn't reeling us in, there really is no as I say that, here comes Trano to the inside, and he is, I'm pretty sure, going to take it.
Yep, so another lead change here, and actually what this is doing is this helping out Matt Cook here, because he did lead the first, 50-ish laps of this race. Now, if Norton and Trano start fighting laps between them, then Matt Cook still has an outside chance of being able to get the most laps led, and of course, we are talking about, a couple of points. But those couple of points, as I said, all season long, could be critical come those last couple of laps at Auto Club Speedway, where we will conclude the season. To run through the back end of the top 10, it is still pretty close together, as I do see a car of Josh Chin trying to get past Nefriag, and I have to say that Chin now is going to go down to the inside, and he will get that pass done in turn 3 and 4, and that's taken a while for Josh Chin, and he's lost those top 4 cars because of it.
And I think that's been about a 20-lap battle, and that's also as Joe Branch is now going to look on the inside, and Nefri going to get tied out of turn 2. They're going to stay side by side, and Nefri holds him off for the time being, and Nefri's going to maintain the position. So great outside charge for Nefriog, but for Joshua Chin, that was about a 20-25 lap battle to get around Nefriog, but now Joshua Chin in the top 5, and I am sure he is ecstatic with where he's running, considering his qualifying position of 23rd earlier today.
Back they come. Lap 100 will be in the books this time by, and Brandon Trano will lead lap 100 of this race. 40 laps left to go at the Milwaukee Mile. Just 40 miles of racing, but I tell you what, it is a lot more difficult than that when you've got all of these things that these drivers are going to have to consider. One of them is going to be pit stops at some point in the next couple of laps as well. Now, I was talking to Ryan Murray before the start of this race, and he's saying that his car was horrible to handle. He qualified in 20th. He's running in the 12th position right now, and he's one of those drivers that he's really had to evolve his race car over the course of this race. Now, Aaron, we can of course do that. The in-car tools. You've got the 2 anti-roll bars, front and rear. You've got the weight checker, but at a track like this, compared to one of the high banked ovals, a click on the weight checker or change the anti-roll bar, because of the banking, is so much more profound what you do with those in-car tools.
And you really have to stay in front of the car. From lap to lap, there can be a major difference, and if you don't time it, if you make a click 1 lap too soon or 1 lap too late, that could be half a second, or that could be losing the rear end of the car. And that's one thing that if you can work that in practice, if you can know what your car is going to do in advance and stay ahead of it, that can be the difference between running 1st or 8th. And that's what also makes this track so amazing. At some of the higher banked ovals, if we were at Texas, it really isn't going to be that big of a difference. But here, this is where it counts for sure.
So, here they are, and Ryan Murray say he's about 10th of a second off the pace, and we are really only talking about 2 tenths of a second still between the guy leading this race, Brandon Trano, and guys who are running all the way down in the 12th, 13th positions. In fact, Chuck Eisenbach in the 15th position is still only 2 tenths of a lap slower than what Trano's doing out front. So we are talking very small distances, but it's that consistency that we need here at Milwaukee, because you talked about this at the top of the broadcast. Miss the apex with turn 3, miss the apex with turn 1, it's a 10th of a second to a 1/3 of a second to half a second gone in one corner. And then it's almost that mentality, the backwards momentum, you pushing then hard on the next lap, and it's in that ever-decreasing circle.
Yeah, this is one of the tracks that I love this race. You can't really gain time, you can only lose it. That you have to be so perfect here that if you mess up in one corner, it's going to affect you for almost half the lap. So it's really hard to gain time. You just really hurt yourself here. And once you start making one mistake, you're going to hurt yourself a little bit more, trying a little bit harder. Then you're going to become frustrated. See the cars go in front, and you're just going to keep losing more and more time.
And we've got some cars on pit road then. So the pit stop sequence is starting once again. Eric Davis is on pit road. I saw another car, that is Douglas E. Smith, and here comes Tim Holgate. Now this is going to be critical when it comes down as Caution is out. Now this could be perfect for Holgate.
He's going to have to get out in front of the leader before the pace car.
What's he doing? He's driving straight through.
Oh no.
Well,
he was in before the yellow. Nefri is in the pits.
Now, yes, for Tim Holgate, he was on pit road before that caution came out.
Oh, did he think he couldn't pit? Oh, that could be the championship.
Yeah, I mean, he was clearly on pit road. I'm just having a look there. When those lights came on, of course, all the drivers, they get the indication at the same time. The lights automatically go on the cars. And he was clearly on pit road, so must have just been one of those. I mean, this is what, a 1 in 100 thing for these drivers, that they make those mistakes. And for Tim Holgate, this is heartbreaking for him now.
And Holgate is going slow around the track. I wonder does he have a fuel issue? Because right now, this is really not going to be good for Nefri. Nefri made it out in front, but he needs these cars to really move, which they aren't, because Nefri would have been our race leader.
Indeed, and you've got cars literally trundling along at 75 miles an hour just to try and make it back onto pit road. Everyone else in the meanwhile is in. Norton is in. And you've got Trano in. You've got Matt Cook in. And of course, Matt Cook's got the advantage. He's in the last pit stall. Who's going to get out first? It will be Trano. Then it will be Matt Cook. And then it will be Ryan Norton. So it's as it was on that last restart when Norton was able to get the jump on Matt Cook. It's going to be those 3 places once again. And let's see what happens with Nefri, because I think actually Nefri lost out a huge amount there because he had to follow everyone else in.
Yeah, Nefriog was going to be our race leader, and now that's I have to wonder if Holgate maybe didn't fill up the tank as much. Boy, I don't know. Holgate could have made that pit stop, and he would have been golden just like Nefriog would have been, but going slow hurt both of them. And that's a championship changer right there.
And I always say in these things, it all comes down to who makes the least mistakes in a race. Now, I'm just having a look, and all of these people should be good to go to the end as well now. So, the big issue is going to be the fact that these guys are now going to have, I mean, Holgate's going to have to come back from what essentially is P17 in this race to come back and find himself. He's got to try and at least get back into the top 10. That's got to be his main aim.
And that's going to be with only 30-ish laps to go. That is a tall order. So when we get to Auto Club at the end of the season and we talk about championship, when we look at the season in review, remember this moment. This is huge. And
at the same time, Josh Chin is up into the top 5 as well. So let's not forget, we are going to road courses next, and road courses is where Josh Chin historically has been the better of the drivers. Now, I'm just trying to see exactly what happened there with that caution. It's Nars Anderson, the number 99 car, and I think that, yeah, he just had a little touch there with Kevin Crest down into turn number 1. That's fun. Nars Anderson around, clipped. I don't think he's got any real damage to that National Guard 99 car. Spun the car around on the racing line, and that was our 4th caution of the day. And the lights, I believe, are out on the pace car, so it's going to be Brandon Traynor, Matt Cook, Ryan Norton, Josh Chin, Joe Branch, Dave Judson, Paul Jenkins, in some order similar to that at least, for this restart. 2 wide they are as they come down the backstretch.
Yeah, they took a while to get double file, which led to that little bit of confusion. But on this restart, Joshua Chin starting P5, he's been really strong, and Matt Cook's going to have to nail this restart, or I think both Norton and Chin are going to get around him.
And if Norton gets ahead, and we saw how well those 2 broken arrow cars were running together, that can be game over for Matt Cook and chance of winning this race. Most important restart of the day. Everyone is good to go to the end, and we're going to go back to Green Flag Racing here at the Milwaukee Mile. Here we go, as they all come down into turn number 1 once again. And a great restart that time by Matt Cook, and it's Norton who's been left out to dry. And look how loose that car was. And Matt Cook goes high as they come down. Contact there, Ryan Norton and Matt Cook.
Oh, Is there going to be any damage on either of those cars?
There's some rear wing damage that looks from Matt Cook, and Norton's car is running well up high right now. And look at Joshua Chin, he's going to make it 3 wide almost. Norton on the outside, and Chin flips them. What a move!
What a move! What a move! Wow!
And Matt Cook is falling back. So when Matt Cook had the opportunity to really take this championship, it all went wrong in one move down on the back straightaway. We're just going to go and have a look back, because I think it was a multi-part accident there. And yet, Trano, originally there, Trano got loose in the centre of the corner, and I think Matt Cook had to run high. I think there might have been a little bit of contact between the two drivers. Indeed, there was, and that's where Cook's front wing just a tiny bit brushed him up high. And then, as Cook was trying to sort himself out, that is when Ryan Norton just tagged the back there of Matt Cook, and 2 incidents in the space of 5 seconds has changed his championship once again. And you can just see Cook wiggling that car there, and Norton just couldn't get the line that he wanted, and both of those drivers now struggling. Norton is all the way down into what I believe is 9th position now. Matt Cook is struggling in 5th place, and this race is changing its head again, because you've now got Brandon Trainer leading from Josh Chin, Dave Judson 3rd, Paul Jenkins in 4th.
I can't believe Cook has hung onto this car for this long. That car is really, really struggling. And now Joe Branch is going to be on the inside.
3 wines, turn 1, with Kermit and Connor Croft, Marco Beaton and Mark Schaefer. Nefriog almost made it 4 wide there, down into turn number 1. And this is like Indy all of a sudden. Everyone's just going for every gap possible.
And this is a time you got to. We have just over 20 laps to go, and if you're Nefriog, you're going to be furious. That pit stop, he would have had it as Ryan Norton gets squeezed just in front of him. Mark Schaefer to the inside, and Norton right now is just bleeding positions with that wing damage.
Yeah, and this race is turned on its head. And I tell you what, Tim Holgate is going to see Norton's car. He's probably heard from his spotters what happened to Matt Cook, and he's thinking, wait a minute, there's a chance that this championship isn't as bad as I thought it's going to be. Now, I think that Brandon Trainer now is going to lead the most laps in this race, and he will take those 2 bonus points away from Matt Cook, who's fallen down into the 7th position, and that car is handling horribly right now as Ryan Murray goes past, and also Terry Matinson, and also Chuck Eisenberg.
The way that damage is, I really think he's heating up the rear tires. The car is really sliding. He's really putting a lot of pressure on those rear tires, and I think as this goes along, it's just going to... An ill-handling car is not going to get better. It's only going to get worse.
And you know what? Here comes Nefriog. Tim Holgate is probably going to get past Matt Cook in, I say, in the next 3 laps or so. In fact, there's just 2 cars. Mark Schaefer is going to get past this corner, and then, by the time we complete the next lap, it will easily be Tim Holgate past Matt Cook. Cook is doing 22.7. Holgate is going to go down to the inside as they come out of turn number 4, and championship advantage back to Holgate.
Wow, back and forth, and the bleeding of positions is going to continue for Matt Cook. Tim Holgate, though, has the opportunity now to gain points. So if you're Holgate, you got to go for it. You only have about 16 laps to go. Holgate's going to have to try to get some points.
But, of course, Josh Chin is the big gainer in all of this, as they are battling all over the place right now. Dave Judson, Vic Cordrell. Well, 3rd place, and look at this, down to the inside, Paul Jenkins is going to try and...
Yellow.
And the yellow is out, our 5th caution of the day, and
Oh, Nefri!
I think that, we'll come back to the caution in a moment, I think that Vic Cordrell was able to get that position ahead at the time the caution came out, but that was a huge crash there, down in turn number 1 and 2, and that was Nefriog and Mark Schaefer down into turn number 1, and Nefriog just as Schaefer clipped the curb, and we've seen a lot of drivers clipping that curb, it upsets the balance just a little bit, and then Nefriog just pinching Schaefer down a tiny bit there. Nefri gets his car spun around, spears it around, and then huge secondary impact there with Kevin Crest, and Matt Kingsbury got a piece of it as well, and Ryan Norton all flying in the air there. and 5 cars involved. That really was the Milwaukee big one.
One thing you'll want to take a look at, if we can get it up, is Tim Holgate's onboard. You talk about championship-defining moments. He was just a hundredth of a second from being involved in that wreck. You can't come any closer and not be involved.
Yeah, that was very close. And that's one of those moments in the championship where your heart literally just thinking to yourself. And of course for Holgate, it's that whole chain reaction, the fact that he was there because of the fact of the whole pit stop faux pas and everything that happened there.
Yeah, so what that does help though is that does for Matt eliminated quite a few cars that were on the lead lap, so chances are Cook would have finished behind him. Now, not as many cars to finish behind.
And also, it keeps him on the lead lap because there was a chance that he would go down a lap before the end of this race. He will now be on the lead lap for pretty much for the rest of this race, unless that car has any more issues.
And he did have an issue. He came up to the field in turn 3 after a lengthy pit stop and got the car into a big drift. So Cook almost had issues under yellows. He's coming back in to try to fix more of that damage.
Yep. So here they all a couple of cars on pit road this time. But this late into the race, it really is about making that car drivable. He's not really going to salvage anything.
No, just that car was undrivable. I can't believe he made it that far without any issues. So good job by Matt Cook. Going to be restarting 18th, and we'll have about a 10-lap shootout or so. Will Chin's been really good on cold tires. Dave Judson's in 3rd, and Vic Caudill, great run in 4th, and Paul Jenkins in 5th. So big shakeup in the top 5 from what we started with.
Indeed, and we still got one more restart to do, and also none of these top guys have pitted, so they're now going to have to restart on cold tyres, which, as we always know, on this type of racetrack, Aaron, can be interesting.
We could go back to that. People having issues on cold tires and spinning the tires and crashing. I said, I'm afraid we'll see it. These drivers are going to have to be very, very cautious, very, very careful, and yet at the same time going for the win. So, gotta really judge risk versus reward. And for Brandon Trano, he has it the easiest. He can choose when to go, and that gives you a little bit of an advantage, being able to be just a little bit cautious.
So you see that Trano is doing the famous tire wiggle, just trying to get a little bit of heat into his tires. We're going to go back to green flag racing with 11 laps to go in this race. Let's bring it home, boys. No more cautions after we've had 5 today in this race, but we've had some great green flag racing as well. Don't forget, you can check out all of the broadcasts from the 2013, 14, 16 Street Racing League on the iRacing Brazil YouTube page. And pace car is going to come back in, and here we go. Chin gets a bit of a wiggle there, and Dave Johnson's going to get that pass done as they come down in turn number 1. Trano gets a little bit of a wiggle into turn number 2. It's that whole time thing. Look at Chin back on the attack.
Back on the attack to the inside, and he's really got to be thinking points, 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 and if he has anything, he is going to go for this win. He's got to. He's had a couple bad runs earlier in the season. This is his turn to gain a ton of points on the competition.
I tell you what, he closed up to the rear Brandon Trano quite a bit there as well. The gap is only 3.5 tenths of a second. Now with 10 laps to go, it is that thing that you know you can abuse the tyres a little bit more than what you may have previously done. The battle is between Brandon Trano, Joshua Chin, Dave Judson, Paul Jenkins. 4 different teams again represented in the top 4 in points in this race. We'll give you an update on what is going on. Matt Cook is at the rear of the field, and he really is just going backwards in a hurry right now. That car is not working for him. Tim Holgate is running in the 9th position right now. He's got Terry Martinson ahead of him, but Mark Schaefer's trying to go down to his inside to move Holgate back down into the 10th position. But this battle between Chin and Trano, it is not over with less than 10 to go.
Not over at all. Chin is staying there, and as you said, you can abuse the tires. There is nothing to gain by saving anything, and battle for 4th as Paul Jenkins thought about going to the inside of Dave Judson, can't get it done.
Yeah, it is close. And Jenkins and Judson, they've raced many times before, and they will race many times again. Both have the utmost respect for each other, but they're going to want to make sure that they keep these cars the right way up. Otherwise, it make the Will and Day show this Friday interesting at the very least. But Chin, Treno, the gap is back up to 0.3 of a second, and that last time by Treno was almost a full tenth of a second faster. It does look as though now those tyres are heated up, Brandon Treno might have this one in the bag with 5 laps left to go as they come past the line.
At this point, here comes Jenkins to the inside, so Jenkins is going to take the 3rd spot, and Judson's going to be the big loser, losing 2. He's going to lose 3 spots here.
Yep, because here comes Joe Bryant, and I was going to say, what a great drive as Joe Bryant gets a little bit high there in turn 3 and 4. What a great drive again by Paul Jenkins. What a great drive again by Vic Cordial, and what a great drive by Joe Branch up into the 5th position, the highest placed Panther car here today in that number 4 car, and the caution is out on the racetrack, and ladies and gentlemen, we have a race today. Tim Holgate is involved in it, and that was actually a Tim Holgate unforced error there, as he got loose in turn number 1 and 2, and Courtney Tell had nowhere to go, slammed into the rear of Holgate, Terrell out of the race. But the important thing is, Tim Holgate is out. And I think actually that Matt Cook hit him as well.
Yeah, I think that's fitting, that as bad of a luck as both drivers had, the fact that Matt Cook hits a stationary Tim Holgate sums this race up perfectly. Joshua Chin, he may finish 2nd this race, but count that as essentially a race win.
Indeed. And I think Joshua Chin, after all is said and done here today, I think that he can now say, I am back in this championship. And, you know, he might not win the race, but my God, we're going to Watkins Glen in 1 week's time, a track where Chin is absolutely dominant at. And I'm sure he was relishing being able to go back to a track where we turn right as well as left. However, next time by, we'll get the right flag. Brandon Trainer, these last couple of races, has just been amazing.
Amazing. So, back-to-back wins going to be for Treno as long as he can bring it home. Just 1.5 laps to go. So, unless something just bizarre happens, Treno's going to be a back-to-back winner. And as you said, doing that in the 16th Street League, that's an accomplishment.
Indeed it is. And this race really all changed on the end of the 4th caution of the day. When you had that moment, sorry, the 4th caution of the day, when you had Brandon Treno and Matt Cook just had that tiny bit of contact in turn 1, pushed Matt Cook up the racetrack, and then Ryan Norton then just touched the rear of Matt Cook, and Norton's race was ruined. Matt Cook's race was going backwards in a hurry, and Brandon Treno, I mean, Brandon Treno did nothing wrong there, you have to say, because he just got a little bit loose into turn 1 and 2. So many cars have done that. We just had Tim Holgate, you know, one of the most consistent guys in the series, do that.
And it doesn't take much, and as I alluded to several times, that car behind, this is the toughest track to avoid a car in front. You can't jerk the wheel or you're going to wreck. You can't just jump off the gas or you're going to wreck. You have to hope that car in front of you is going to move by the time you get there. And unfortunately for Matt Cook at that point in time, the car was still there.
And also, this is, by my recollection, the first time in the modern era of 16 Street Racing League that an oval race is going to finish under caution. Pace car is going to bring Brandon Treno in the number 9 broken aero car to the line. 55 miles an hour, it won't matter for him because he becomes a back-to-back winner in the 2014 16 Street Racing League, and Treno gets victory. Chin gets 2nd. Paul Jenkins comes home 3rd, Vic Cordial 4th, and then Joe Branch rounds out your top 5. Aaron, I can't remember the last time we finished a race under caution. The end result doesn't matter though. Treno, victory again.
He was inching away before that yellow came out, so the yellow probably wasn't going to change a thing, but great run by Josh Chin. Super good run by Paul Jenkins. Vic Caudle, he finished in the top 5 at Phoenix. Here at Milwaukee, another top 5. And Joe Branch, 5th. Dave Judson, let's see, 6th. Cool. So good run by him. So what a great race all around. Very entertaining. Lots of comers, lots of goers. And for our 2 championship leaders, you couldn't think of anything more to go wrong than what happened here today.
Indeed. And of course, drop weeks are in operation in 16th Street, but that was huge for both of those drivers. It really does bring back into the picture Joshua Chin. And again, this series is all about momentum. We've seen that all season long. And for Chin to have this result going over to a road course, gonna be interesting.
Yeah, there are drop weeks, but you don't want to have to use them. You don't want to have a DNF. You want to save those. And early in the season, Joshua Chin, bad luck bit him. But this really, I think, is going to equal out those drops now. Everybody really is going to have a more equal playing field with all these drops that we're going to see. And to waste them, Tim Holgate was here. He could have capitalized majorly. Wasn't to be.
Brandon Trainer doing the Polish victory lap then, as we are going to run through your final race results from the 2014 16th Street Racing League Milwaukee 140, brought to you by iRaceForLife.org. And in a time of just over 1 hour, 1 hour 7 minutes to be precise, you have Brandon Trainer taking victory in the number 9 Broken Arrow Machine. Second place, Joshua Chin in the number 93 car, putting himself back into that championship picture like never before. Paul Jenkins gets a well-deserved podium in that number 23 Aero X racing car. Vic Caudle makes it an Aero X 3rd and 4th position. Joe Branch, phenomenal result for him in the National Guard car. He comes home in P5. And then Dave Judson 6th, Ryan Murray in 7th, Terry Mattinson 8th, Mark Schaefer 9th, and Marco Viitanen rounds out your top 10. The rest of the guys who finish on the lead lap: in 11th, Eric Davis; 12th, Chuck Eisenberg; 13th is Dave Jinks; 14th is David Stockrider; 15th, Matt Cook; 16th is Connor Cross. 16 cars finishing on the lead lap here today. For Kerry Bettenhausen, Matt Kingsbury, Tim Miller, all finishing 1 lap down. And then your retirees. We started with Brian Simpson early on. Now McBride, Brad Sanford, Randy Krosnick, Brendan Lichtenberg, Niles Anders, Kevin Kress, Ryan Norton, Neff Riag, Courtney Terrell, all out of the race. But the most important, Tim Holgate, classified in the 21st position in this race here today. And what a phenomenal race it has been once again here in the 16th Street Racing League. What I never understand, Aaron, is how people say that short track racing isn't fun. Again, this is a perfect example that, yes, it's more demanding, but my God, the rewards you get if you put the time and the effort in, a phenomenal race.
Yeah, some of the drivers that say it's not fun are the drivers that really can't adjust to the style of racing. You still have, we saw today, 2 wide, sometimes 3, almost 4 wide racing. Things happen faster, things happen quicker. You got to be on your toes, and you have to be perfect. At a big track, mistakes can be hidden. Short tracks, it's going to be evident, and sometimes there's no place to hide or run. Anybody that said today's race was boring, wow, I don't know what to say. This was great, great stuff, and once again, I'm left just saying, wow, what a race.
What a race indeed. We'll talk to your race winner, Brandon Trainer. Back-to-back victories, and that Broken Arrow car looked as though it had been on rails all day long. A little bit loose in some of the restarts, but overall, you've got to say, job well done once again.
Yeah, I gotta thank all the guys at Broken Arrow, man. They put a hell of a machine together. It was sketchy on the restarts, but after that, man, that car was just on rails.
And take us through your race. I mean, of course, you qualified for this race in P2. Just, 12 1,000ths of a second behind Matt Cook, the only other driver, apart from Cook, to get into the 21.7 in qualifying. And then over the course of this race, You know, at some point you were running out front. Some point you fell back into third position, but you were always there in the top 5 for every lap of this race.
Yeah, I mean, I was really comfortable leading, especially when I was working with Ryan Norton there. But when I got back in the back of the pack, it was a little tough to get back up there because the guys were pretty fast. But once I got back up there, I was able to put my head down and go for the win.
And win 2 races in a row, and even though you're on a part-time schedule per se, when are we likely to see you back?
I'm gonna guess the next what you call it? Next oval. Try to make it 3 ovals in a row if I can.
3 ovals in a row, and I mean, how satisfying is it to win 2 oval races in a row on what is an incredibly tough season with some great competition?
Yeah, the chance to race all these fantastic drivers and then to win last week at Indy, just it's icing on the cake. It's such a blast to be able to run against the top competitors in this series.
And of course, as winning the race, you $5 donated to a charity of your choice as part of the 16 Street Racing League's partnership with iRaceforLife.org. Do you have a charity in mind?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Victory Junction Gang Camp. I've worked with them in the past with quarter midgets and always thought they were a great foundation. So
There we are. Brandon Treno, back-to-back race winner in the 16 Street Racing League. Gonna turn over to the guy who came home in 2nd position. Joshua Chin, after starting this race in 22nd position, you are probably thinking at what point you're going to turn your computer off. And you come home 2nd. Well done.
Thank you. I really just bombed my qualifying lap. I saw the pole was up there for grabs and really went for in 3 and 4 and just missed the line, hit the curb, and said, well, we might as well start from 22nd tonight, and had a fairly eventful race moving up through the field, but had that, I think, second to last restart where Matt, Brandon, and Ryan all kind of got together, and I was able to come up through to 2nd, and it felt really nice to make up some points and finally get an oval top 5 this season. Finally.
Get yourself an oval top 5, and in a race where your 2 big championship rivals struggled, is the nice way of saying it. This really puts you back into play now more than ever before, because you were on the periphery where if one of them made a mistake, could be right back in it. All of a sudden, both of them make a mistake at the same race, and we're going to a road course in 1 week's time.
Yeah, it was huge. I know I've been coming in with some momentum, and that just really, that sets the course for the rest of the season, I think, for me, because there's 3 really good road courses that I feel like I can make up points on Tim and Matt on, and with 3 drop weeks, I'm 27 points back, so it's still a little ways left in the season, but anything can happen, and I feel pretty good about the championship now.
Well done. P2 for you in this race. And the guy who came home in P3, Paul Jenkins, again, phenomenal result for you in that number 23 car. Qualified in 9th. Been there or thereabouts in the top 10 all day, but my God, what a great way to finish.
Yeah, how about that, huh? I was not quite expecting anything like that, but yeah, you know, it's really kind of a story of persistence. Just sort of hung out there. I really don't want to press the issue with anybody. I know that Nefri was charging. Actually, both of the Panther cars, Nefri and Joe, were both really pushing very, very hard. So you know, we had some good racing there in the back, and the car was really coming in, you know, on the second part of the run. When I got towards the second part of the run, the car was extremely fast. But what really, really was surprising was how fast the car was after that last fuel stop. And I think that really made a big difference. I was able to hunt down Dave Judson, and I was surprised at how much speed I had on him.
And I mean, getting yourself a podium in a season which started oh so badly for you. Josh was just talking about momentum. Is it a case of, for you now, you've got that momentum going into the second half of the season and the rest of the races that we have left?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with just staying out of trouble, and that's exactly what I did here in Milwaukee. And, you know, I had the same philosophy at Indy, but unfortunately, you know, just the cards kind of fell the wrong way. But, I think the biggest challenge for me this entire season has just been to finish races, and I've always kind of been in the right place, but it's just sort of, sometimes just the luck hasn't been with me. So, I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks here, putting on a strong finish, and hopefully put myself in a good position.
Well done. A third place, a podium finish there for Mr. Paul Jenkins. And I'm going to have to do this. Mr. Dave Judson,
yeah.
Well done. You came home in P6.
Thank you for the intro music. Honestly, quite surprised with my results. Just kind of spur of the moment. Wasn't planning on running this race, but since I finished second in the points in the Justin Wilson Challenge during week 13, John Goat convinced me to give it a go, as you would like to say, Will. So I stuck it in there, had a decent qualifying run. Car was real fast in the restarts, but then I had nothing for those guys. Really good racing with Paul, Vic, and Joe. Nice to see Paul has some good luck for once, and pretty happy with my run. We're building a good team with Impact Racing, just trying to get a good flow and get to know each other, and races like this help a lot.
Qualified P10, finished P6. No real incidents or race long. You can't really get much better than that, really, can you?
No, not at all. The greedy side of me wanted to finish on the podium, but Paul had a good run on me, and I like him, so I wasn't going to chop him off, and two guys freight trained me, but hey, you know what? You got to start somewhere, and good start for Impact Racing to finish in the top 10 today.
And of all those interviews,
of all my interviews, this one was the most recent.
The Will and Dave Show, Fridays 4 p.m. Eastern, live and exclusive on Glacier TV. Mr. Josephine Branch, she came home P5 today. What a great result in that number 4 Panther National Guard car.
Man, the car was a rocket. It took me, I don't know how many cautions we have. 8. It took me till the 9th try to figure out how to go the first lap, but the car was an absolute rocket, especially off turn 4, thanks to National Guard Panther guys. That was just fun. That was a blast, man.
Now, you talked about those restarts, and they really were crazy, those restarts. By the way, it was only 6 cautions we had for 23 laps here today. But the restarts were crazy, just because of the fact that people are struggling to get their tyres up. How difficult was it, especially being in the middle of the pack, not only having to worry about where your car was, but where everyone else was sliding around you?
I mean, I couldn't even control my car. That expression of a monkey in a football come to mind, but it wasn't fun. I couldn't worry about everybody else because I was busy wrecking myself. And
say, after qualifying where you did, your qualifying today was pretty good, P8. In fact, you were the highest placed of the Panther guys, which you've got to be proud of as well. So best qualifier for Panther, best racer for Panther, and you're pretty dab hand when it comes to the road course as well, and you love Watkins Glen last time I checked.
Yeah, 10-4. I had a bit of bad luck for a few of my teammates, so they'll rally up back, and hopefully Watkins Glen, Tim can come out and pull out a win and get back on top of those points.
Can you make sure Nefri stays away from the pit girls? I got some complaints after the last race.
As soon as he parked that car, he was out. He's gone.
Guys, what a great result there. Joe Branch into the top 5 into this race. And Ryan Murray, before we start this race, I might actually have to quote you here when you said this should be a beautiful disaster.
Yep,
P7.
that was me. Yeah, I kind of snuck in there at the end, didn't I? Unfortunately, I missed my pit stall on the first caution, so I decided just to go through and race and hoping there was going to be another caution. But yeah, I started turning my first laps at about 4 p.m. today, and thankfully Tim Holgate and Niles Anders come up with amazing setups because, I'm a road course guy. This oval stuff is a little bit confusing. So I'm pretty pleased with that.
Well, you got yourself, a top 10 finish here today on a track which I know is giving you some mixed results over the years, but we've talked about momentum. I think momentum is the theme of the day here today, and we're going to a track which, you've raced at the very, very top level of iRacing competition at Watkins Glen. So have you got a little bit of an advantage when we come to that, knowing that, you've raced with some of the best road racers in the world at that track?
Next week I'm still going to be racing with some of the best in the world. It's that was a long time ago, and I feel like I should get a podium, but you never know what happens. That's why we show up every week, and I understand I'll be one of the favorites, but we got a race, and as tonight was a proof of that because Norton and Cook and Holgate all were up there, and then all of a sudden they had some trouble. But I'm looking forward to it. I love Watkins Glen. I mean, it's one of the best tracks for the IndyCar because of the flow of the whole course and everything. So it's just going to be a good time. I was pleased with tonight, and hopefully come away with first or second next week.
Well, well done. P7 for Ryan Murray. Got to speed things up again. Where am I going to next? I am going to Caudletown. Caudle coming home in P4 today.
You bet you will.
How was it? I mean, let's be honest. You had yourself a pretty good race car in that number 33 car. Qualified it in 15th. Got yourself many a lap under yourself this weekend. But we're able to get yourself into the top 10, into the top 5, and as far as I'm aware, getting yourself into the top 25 in points as well.
My team, I can't thank my team enough for all the help and all the hours that we put into this Milwaukee set, plus the practice on top of that. I did 500 and some laps already today, just getting ready for this thing. Talk about some warm-up laps.
Did you break the iRacing thing again where they stopped counting you?
Yeah, I think it's 512 or 513. They stopped, so
yeah.
Don't spend all your money.
Well, and of course, you had to race in the transfer race earlier on today. You don't have to do that because you now are sat 18th in points, tied with Kerry Bettenhausen. Is that a weight off your shoulder now that you can just, race the actual race and not have to worry with what could go wrong in the transfer?
Oh yeah, a big load off because Watkins Glen and the road courses, you got, like Ryan and all those guys that are good at road courses, and I haven't had that much practice, but I'm going to put a lot of practice in and hopefully, stay at least on the lead lap and out of everybody's way.
Well, well done. P4 for Vic Caudrell in that number 33 car. And finally, we're going to have a quick chat with David Sockrider. An up and down day for you today, David. Qualified that number 44 car in the 23rd position, made a net gain of 9 positions in the race, but there could have been so much more.
Most definitely. I think I was in 12th, and one of the restarts, I had another car come up and break my front wing, and I just slid all the way back to 20th at that point, and thank God a yellow came out, and that allowed me to get a new wing and try to catch up again.
And again, we've been talking about momentum all the way through this interviews, and this track, even the actual racing itself, it's all about momentum. It must be disheartening to get yourself up positions and then have to do it again. And is it that point there where you really understand the need for the mental focus?
I guess I was just trying to survive the race. Basically, that was my goal as a whole: was survive and take what I can.
And, you're a pretty dab hand when it comes to the road courses. We're likely to see you up in at least the top 10 at Watkins Glen in a week's time. Do you think that, you still sat in the top 10 in point standings? Are you looking forward to the road course to get yourself back into gear?
Oh, yeah, I like Watkins, but it'll be a tough. Everyone should probably be pretty quick there. It's a very fast course. And a couple mistakes from people, and you can have some really big wrecks there, too.
Well, unfortunate day for you today in that number 44 car. David Sockrider coming home in the 14th position. Aaron, final thoughts, I think, today has to be what could have been.
Oh, what could have been, and when we started this race, we were essentially saying Tim Holgate and Josh Chin both were going to have an awful race or qualifying results, and I said this is Matt Cook's time to put the hammer down and put a early lock on the championship, but oh, what could have been, and what is now. The championship is getting even better, and we go to Watkins Glen next week, which, as these drivers alluded to, very fast. Anything can happen, and if today was any showing, this championship's just going to get more and more interesting as we go along.
And of course, next week we go back to the road courses, the International Light Technologies Road Course Championship, making a stop in upstate New York, Watkins Glen International, which is everyone's favorite road course to drive.
Oh, it is just an absolute blast. The car, the track, it's the perfect combo, one of the best combos in all of iRacing, and next week we're going to see some of the best, or the best IndyCar drivers go up there, and we're going to have our road course people up front, the oval drivers, which of all the road courses for the oval specialists, this is usually where they are going to be able to maybe shine the most, so lots of interesting storylines we'll see unfold next week, along with this ever-evolving championship.
The ever-evolving championship takes another twist, another turn in the 9th round of the 2013-14 16 Sheet Racing League, and presented by iRaceForLife.org. Been a fascinating race here today. We all thought that Matt Cook was going to get victory, and then that turned in a blink of an eye. We then thought that Tim Holgate was going to get race victory, or be right there, merely to get himself a commanding lead in the championship, but a mistake on pit road, and he finishes 21st in this race. Brandon Trainer makes it back-to-back victories, and Josh Chin established himself once again as a championship contender, but as we've seen all season, it's not over until the final laps of the race. Next week, we head upstate to New York, to Watkins Glen International for 41 laps of pure adrenaline racing at a track which, let's be honest, was built for open wheels, was built for IndyCar racing, and these guys are going to love it. This has been an iRacing Brazil production of the 16 Sheet Racing League, powered by iRaceForLife.org. From myself, Will Benson, from Aaron Likens, and from Raphael Sank, we'll see you in a week's time. Bye-bye.